Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hi, everyone. Carl Case, Head of Business Development at Referrizer. I am joined here by Bryan Klein, CEO and founder of the Max Challenge. Bryan, go ahead, introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about how you formed this brand.
Sure, definitely. So before I get into how I formed it, just a little bit about it and what makes us different than what I like to think pretty much any fitness brand on the face of the earth is I noticed an incredible opportunity to help people who either haven't exercised in, let's say, a year, 5 years, 10 years, and some people who've never exercised before in their lives, to help people in those situations to completely change their outlook on exercise, nutrition, and fitness. And for probably the first time in most of these people's lives, get the one thing that they always sought, but never knew how to get there, results. And it's going to seem simple, Carl, because it's really just this. The formula is fitness with nutrition and motivation gets results. And we found that the absolute best program on the face of the earth isn't necessarily the Max Challenge, but it's the program that people actually use. So by combining these three things, fitness with nutrition and motivation, we help people integrate fitness, nutrition, and a healthy lifestyle into their daily life. And in return, they get these absolutely amazing results, become walking billboards, tell all their friends about it. And that's been the key driver behind our success.
Awesome. I'm hands-on with a lot of group fitness classes and brands, and I think you definitely have solved a major gap that a lot of other brands don't solve for, which is the nutrition aspect, because we can be knee deep in the gym, but if we're not feeding our muscles properly and following a diet plan, it could all go to waste.
100%. It's not even a question as to it could go to waste. It does completely go to waste. I know from personal experience, about now it's been 22 years and I could track it to the date because my son is 22 years old. But when he was born premature and he was under a pound, believe it or not, underwent an experimental surgery. But the short of it is he spent an extended period of time in the hospital. And during that time, I went from being an athlete to gaining over 100 pounds. So yeah, I could tell you from experience, like I joined every gym in the area, even though I owned my own gym at the time. I had every personal trainer at my disposal. I had nutritionists, and the nutritionists never said anything to me about working out. When you'd go to the gym, they never said anything to you about what you eat. And it just kind of came to me one day, like somebody's got to combine these things into one affordable, easy to follow program so that people could finally get results.
Yeah, I'm glad your son's thriving now. I too experienced something very similar. I was a Division I athlete for my first 2 years in college at the University of Alabama. And obviously golf is a little less intrusive than if I was on the football team. But when I graduated college, I moved back home and I started working for Referrizer. And I found myself living with one of my college buddies who owned a vending machine company. And I would just trickle into the garage and grab myself some Skittles, some chips, a soda and whatnot. And I found my body gaining 85 pounds in 3 months. And crazy. I wasn't in the gym. I wasn't doing anything but working from the computer and eating. And then one day when my button popped off my pants, I was like, all right, it's time to get lean again. And I still wasn't motivated to get in the gym, but I was motivated to eat clean. And it was amazing how I dropped the weight in 6 months. And then I felt motivated to then start working out. And I got back to my core of feeling better and performing the way that I wanted to mentally and physically.
That's amazing. And now more than ever, there's more Americans that fall into that category that have been sedentary for the past several years, that have fallen out of good habits. And it's taking that first step that's so difficult. And a place like the Max Challenge, where when you go to a gym and you're looking around and you haven't worked out, and you don't know where to start, what do people usually do? They eat less and they work out more. They do cardio, and it puts themselves into starvation mode. They just don't know where to start. So that's where at the Max Challenge, there's somebody waiting at the door for you the first day. Not only do they make you feel comfortable, show you around, show you exactly what to do each day that you come in, but then they help shepherd you through shoulder to shoulder, a nutrition program that helps people to really optimize the workouts, because workouts alone are not going to do it.
Sure. I agree. That's amazing. So, Bryan, tell me what ultimately drove you to create the Max Challenge, and what was your motivation to scale to the amount of locations that you have today?
Sure. So my initial motivation, I had a fitness related business prior to the Max Challenge, and I always had the idea of scaling. But the idea of scaling, and the advice that I give to anybody that's looking to grow their business or get into business, it all stemmed from one place. And I always knew that I wanted to help people. I had this like innate desire to help people. And I often would recognize that I was willing to do more for others than I was for myself. Right. So I realized that I had this innate passion to really help other people get the most out of life, to help people live to the fullest. And one day I just had this aha moment while I was waiting for my trainer, actually, who didn't show up at, let's say it was 9 a.m. I don't remember the exact time, but called me 15 minutes later and said, I'll be there at 10. But then at 10, he called me 15 minutes later and said, I'll be there at 11. But then at 11, he canceled. That's where I really started thinking to myself, somebody's got to combine fitness, nutrition, and motivation. And at that point, I'd already gotten back into the best shape of my life. I knew I was a great motivator. I was in fitness my entire life. I knew a tremendous amount about nutrition throughout all my experience. And then I realized in that split second that this was my chance to take my innate desire to help people live happier, healthier lives and just run with it. And look, to anybody out there who's thinking about getting into business, at that moment, I was totally excited. I was really excited about the potential that this idea would bring. But what happens as the minutes and the hours go by and the days? Yeah, you start to convince yourself, yeah, I already have a business. I'm busy enough with these other things that I'm doing over here, and I really want to get involved and this and that. But luckily, I paid attention to the side of me that said, this is an opportunity to help tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people live happier lives. And luckily for me that I paid attention to that voice, because that's what it ended up becoming, and a tremendous opportunity to help hundreds of thousands of people get into the best shape of their lives.
Virtual high five.
Virtual high five back.
That's awesome. It's amazing how many entrepreneurs I speak to that their business started in just seeing an opportunity. And I'm glad that your trainer screwed you that way.
Yeah, it actually, right? Like always looking for an opportunity to fill a void where there isn't. And the void really, like, it extended beyond the poor service that he was providing, because again, like, he never said anything to me about what I knew myself, because I was an athlete and I had been in shape and then fell out of shape, like I explained. But most people just don't know. And I realized there's a tremendous opportunity to help people integrate. How many people buy books off the shelf and they buy, like, the information is readily available, but people have a hard time sticking with it, understandably. It's part of human nature. Once you're in a certain pattern, breaking that pattern is very difficult unless you do something that you've never done before. And having a coach like the coaches at the Max Challenge, who are really there to work with you shoulder to shoulder and not just provide the classes, but to provide the nutrition coaching and the motivation to stick with it that's so desperately needed, is really helpful to many people.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate that. So talk to me more in detail about the Max Challenge as an organization. How many locations do you guys have today?
So we have just over 50 locations, which we're really excited about. Our strategy for growth, like growth to me right now, means Yes, growing the number of locations, but even more so, growing those individual locations, optimizing those locations, making sure that not only the members are getting an absolutely tremendous experience when they walk in the doors there. Because, by the way, like, I think that we're not in competition with other fitness brands. I think we're in competition with every experience that a member could have anywhere with any business and with ourselves. So we want to make that the best experience for the members, but at the same time, we want to make it the best experience for our franchisees. We want to make sure that the franchisees, we're removing friction. We're allowing our franchisees to achieve their personal goals, and that ultimately their business becomes a vehicle to fuel their lives and not take away from their lives. It's something that they're stuck with and married to, but something that actually helps them if they want more time with their family, if they want to go. One of the greatest stories is one of our franchisees who went on like a dream trip to Rome. I mean, this is after she bought her vacation home, that was like a huge, the way she explains it, these are her words, not mine. She could hardly pay the mortgage on her first house when she had a job. After she was with us probably about 5-6 years at the time, she had 3 locations. She had a healthy net. Not only was she doing well enough to redo her first home, she bought a vacation home. But one of the most gratifying things that I ever experienced was when she was sending me emails from Rome on a vacation with her family. That was amazing. And knowing that this business has the potential to help franchisees really live their best lives and fulfill their dreams, that's what gets me up in the morning.
And knowing that those franchisees are trickling down to tens of thousands of other people that are also able to physically and mentally achieve their dreams is really music to everybody's ears.
I'll tell you, though, that the best franchisees in our system are the ones that have shared values with me. And the highest value is a sincere desire to help other people succeed. So really what fuels it for those people, like the franchisee that I just described, her name is Roseanne. She's from Staten Island. But what really fuels Roseanne getting up every day isn't making money. She loves have people coming to her and saying, thank you so much. I've really changed my life through this program that you offer here. This is the best thing I have ever done. Thank you. That's what gets this person up every single day. That's why she's been able to achieve this success. She didn't set her goal on some monetary goal, which is important. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But at the same time, it's very important to be fueled by something deeper. That's what's really going to get you up in the morning.
So if you don't mind, speak to me a little bit about your process or things that you've experienced or things that maybe have helped you or hurt you, and just give me some gist on that topic of coaches, employees, and people that are your partners inside of the system.
Yeah. So not to keep repeating the same thing over and over, but the franchisees that really stay in touch with why they decided to do this to begin with. Again, you need to want to make money. Like, I think there's actually 3 pillars of this. Number 1 is the passion, which I talked about. Number 2 is this a business model that has the potential to make money? And are you going to act in a business-like fashion and make decisions that ladder up to a good financial result? Because if you just love it and it doesn't make money, the passion runs out. But then the last piece of these 3 pillars is making a commitment to be the best in the world. And when I say the best in the world, I mean that, like, right now, I'm sitting in Manalapan, New Jersey, where our corporate headquarters are. We have a center less than 2 miles down the road in Manalapan, New Jersey. There's one in Marlboro. There's one in Freehold. Every town around here has one. But when you're walking through Manalapan, New Jersey, in Manalapan, New Jersey, when somebody thinks about getting into the best shape of their life, they think the Max Challenge. Why? Because it's the only place in town that's dedicated to fitness, nutrition, and motivation. And those owners are executing at the highest level possible. So that fuels something like the passion to wake up. They're attracting better, more qualified talent because their standard is here and they don't settle for less. And something happens when you start compromising too much. You start attracting the lowest level of team member, right? But when you make decisions and you hold to a certain standard and you do what you have to do as the leader. So sometimes one of those franchisees has to step into that center a little more often than they might like, or they have to put the right general manager in place and pay out of pocket for the right staff. So the right leadership is in place to attract the right people. So those people seem to have had a much better, easier time. Everyone's taken their lumps over the past 2 years. They've had a much easier time. And they also, through that process of having high standards, they attract people, like you were saying before, who want to work for them. And in our system, many of them who are members. So this is like an incredible cycle where people who start as members get incredible results. They develop this fantastic brand affinity. Then they want to become part of paying it forward. And those people turn out to be the absolute best team members. So look, when your business stands for something and your business is clearly there for a reason beyond just a monetary reason, it bleeds through in your words, your actions, and people could just feel it when they walk into the building that, okay, the way I'm being treated here is different than the way I'm being treated at other places. Then, you know, what happens? Those people become brand advocates, and at the highest level, they end up working there and carrying forward the mission. They really become people who become, you know, driven to first put the mission, second, they're doing it as a part-time job.
I love it. Yeah. And then that's one of the ways that you're organically growing as a brand.
Yes. And it's very powerful because those are people that are already proven entities and they know that this is where they want to be and that they could dedicate themselves and put the right energy forward to really grow the brand in a way that's true to what it is.
Amazing. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you wish that you knew early on in the process, whether, you know, it be about how to attract the proper client, how to attract the proper franchisee, talent, whatever it may be that our listeners could probably benefit from?
I would say the one pieces of advice that I could give people is choose your market and then go for it. Don't try to be everything to everyone. If, like in our case, our market is people who have not exercised and then turn them into people who exercise regularly, and then they're sticky. Some people I see, they start with that, and then they're like, well, I could train these athletes in the afternoon. Well, I could train these other people in the morning. And they try to be everything to everyone. And most often, they think they're going to make a little bit off of a lot of different things. Doesn't work. When you stand for one thing and become an expert at that, it creates referrals, it creates word of mouth, it just creates a much better, more profitable business.
Awesome. Well, Bryan, I so appreciate your story. I see some supplements behind you. If somebody is not in an area that the Max Challenge has locations today, is there anything that they could benefit from watching this and listening? I can imagine that you're going to create a lot of buzz. So how can people get involved?
100%. So firstly, if anybody just wants to ping me, if they think I could offer any support, any advice, whatever, go right ahead, brian@themaxchallenge.com. You can visit our website, find my information there. If anybody wants to get into the best shape of their life, we offer our services virtually, and people are just totally crushing it. We have a full line of supplements and protein powders to help accelerate people's progress. But people could literally join the Max Challenge, get a coach and instructor virtually, and people are doing extremely well with that.
Thank you for sharing that. I know people are going to take advantage of it because that is awesome. We appreciate your time today, and stay tuned to next week's episode to meet somebody else in the health and wellness space. Bryan, we so appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Carl. Thank you, everybody, and hope to talk to everyone soon.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.